If your daycare classroom feels chaotic, overwhelming, or difficult to manage, especially for children with autism, it is not a behavior problem, it's an environmental problem. Today, I'm going to show you how to create an autism friendly classroom that improves behavior, increases engagement, and builds parent trust. Hi there, I'm Monica Matthews Smith, pediatric occupational therapist with over 22 years of experience working with children with autism and early childhood development, 16 years in the school system, and I help daycare providers and centers confidently and efficiently support children with autism. If you are a daycare director, owner, or teacher, this training is for you. Let's walk through the 5 key areas every autism friendly classroom must have. Number 1, a structured classroom layout. One of the biggest mistakes that I see is open, unstructured classroom with way too much happening and going on at once. What children with autism need is clear structure. So this includes having defined areas in the classroom. You want an area for learning, an area for play, and a quiet area. You can use things like shelving, furniture, or rugs to help designate areas for those specific spaces. You also want to reduce clutter and visual distractions. When a child, especially a child with autism, knows where to go and what to do, behavior is reduced dramatically. Number 2, the sensory area. Every autism friendly classroom needs a place for regulation, not punishment. So this could look like having a quiet corner. You can have shelving that separates the rest of the classroom, that creates a small space. Maybe you have bean bags or a soft mat down there. You have soft seating, you have fidgets or calming tools. It's also in a space that has dim lighting and reduced noise. Now, remember, this is not a timeout space, it is a support space. Regulation before participation. When a child can regulate, they can participate and re engage. Number 3, visual supports. Most children with autism do not process verbal information effectively, but they understand visuals. So you want to have a visual schedule that shows them each activity that they are going to participate in through the day. It could be as easy as having a picture icon for morning routine. Maybe they're coming in and putting their backpack in down, or they're coming in and they're getting a snack. A visual schedule for each activity so that they can see what is coming next and it can be predictable for them. You also want to label bins with pictures so that they know this bin is the dinosaurs, this bin are blocks, this bin has crayons, this bin has whatever. You don't want to just put the labels on there, but you want to make sure that you have picture icons as well. You want to make sure that you have a first then board. This will help dramatically with behaviors. If a child is wanting to engage in a preferred activity, but you want them to engage first, maybe in a work task, or maybe it's not time for play, maybe now it's time for meal or for snack, you want to have a first then visual so that they understand that first you are expecting them to participate and engage in this task, and then they can have the preferred activity that they are requesting. You also want to make sure that whatever rules you set for your classroom that you want them to abide by are also in visual format, meaning they have picture icons that represent each rule. If you find that you are repeating yourself verbally, I want you to pause and go grab the visual icon that represents what you are saying and present that to the child. You will begin to see that you will have greater carryover and follow through when you pair your verbal instructions with the visual icon. Number 4, you want to make sure that your classroom has a daily schedule and routine. Unpredictability creates anxiety. Structure creates safety in our children with autism. So you want to make sure that, again, you have that consistent schedule. You want to follow the same format each day that the child is with you. It may not be the exact same activities, but the child should know when I come in, I can expect A, B, C, and D in that order. Again, you can vary the activity, right? But the format of your schedule should be the same. This is to help with predictability, routine, and structure. You want to make sure that you have transition warnings. So as you are transitioning between activities, you want to front load them. So you want to have a timer, something that has a visual countdown. You want to have maybe a certain song that you sing before each transition. You want to have something in place that the student knows when this happens, I am about to transition from what I'm doing to the next thing that I am expected to engage in. This will also help decrease behaviors with transitions because the child knows what is coming next. Keep in mind that most behaviors happen during those transitional periods. So the more structure, the more front loading that you put in place, the more easy the transition will be for the student and the staff. Structure definitely matters. Point number 5, you can have the best setup. Everything can be in place. All the activities are ready to go. But if you do not have trained staff, the classroom still will not be effective. You want to make sure that your staff are using clear, simple language. When it comes to verbal communication, just remember less is best. You also want to make sure that your staff is giving the child enough processing time. I have seen students need up to 20 seconds of processing time just to respond to what it is that was stated to them. Okay, so processing time could look like the child may not have heard you. They can look like they're thinking about it and just not showing a response. So give them that time to process before you move on and assume that, oh, they didn't hear me. One of the things to watch out for is that you are not asking a child with autism to do the same thing within a short amount of time over and over, that you are not repeating your instruction, that you're giving them that time to hear the instruction, get that auditory input, and then respond, provide an output to what it is that you're asking. You want to make sure that your staff is using positive reinforcement. Research says that for every correction that you provide a student or a child, that they should receive 7 points of praise from you. Okay. You don't want to get into the habit of always correcting or always giving negative remarks. Yes, sometimes it could be frustrating when you're working with children with autism who have behaviors. And so it could be easy to point out to the parent even what the child is doing that's frustrating to the staff, but find the positive. When you get a positive response from the child, praise that. When they do something, even if it's small or even if it's out of order, that was appropriate, praise them. But just be careful that you are recognizing the good and you're bringing attention to that than you are the negative behaviors. Because sometimes behaviors, as we talked about in a previous video, can also be attention seeking. And if the child feels if I pull the hair, if I scratch, then I get this huge response, I have all this attention, then guess what? They're going to continue to pull the hair and to scratch and to engage in those negative behaviors. So as often as possible, if you see a child, especially a child with autism, but this can go for any child, doing something that is praiseworthy, praise them. You will get a better outcome in the long run. Also, stay consistent. Make sure that your staff are all on the same page with how they're handling these behaviors, how they're going about managing the classroom, whether it's how they're putting items away, whether how they're presenting the visual supports. Make sure everyone is on the same page because again, if there is inconsistencies with structure and routine, the behaviors will be magnified. And children don't need perfect teachers. They just need prepared ones. And preparation comes from having the information and implementing them with consistency. Okay, so to recap, the 5 things that every autism-friendly classroom must have, let's go through them. Number 1, a structured layout. Okay. Number 2, a sensory area. Number 3, visual supports. Number 4, a consistent routine. And number 5, trained and prepared and intentional staff. When these 5 things are in place, your classroom becomes more calmer, more predictable, and way more effective. If you're serious about becoming a center that confidently supports children with autism and stands out to parents, check out my Autism Readiness certification. This is where I train your staff on step by step of how to implement everything we talked about in today's video. The link to my Autism Ready certification is in the description below. I hope you enjoyed this video and it gave you greater tools to work with children and support them in your daycare center or in your classroom environment. Comment below and tell me, what is the biggest challenge that you are seeing now in your classroom or your daycare center? Until next time, bye for now.